How are you guys doing today? I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV, and welcome to another News Daily video. I'm going to be talking about 5 stories for today. To start with, I'm going to be talking about Philippe Coutinho links. Moving on, I'm going to be talking about us potentially selling the clubs and talks of us holding meetings with 3 different parties. I'm going to be talking about statements that Ruben made about Sarri. I'm going to be talking about a potential replacement for Sarri that's being monitored by the club currently, and I'm going to be talking about Gary Cahill news. But before I get into anything, today's video was brought to you by the One Football app. If you guys want to help a brother out, in the link in the description below will be a link to the app. You guys, it really does help me out, and the only way to help me out is by clicking on the link, because each download does get tracked by One Football. But anyway, moving straight into the first story for today. Obviously, we need to talk about Philippe Coutinho links. Now, this has been reported by Sport, and they're stating that we're currently interested in Coutinho, and ideally, we want Coutinho to be the replacement for Eden Hazard. Obviously, this depends on whether our ban is suspended and we get at least one window to conduct business. But to be fair, there wasn't much context in the report other than stating that we do want to sign Coutinho. But of course, it does kind of conflict against other reports that have come out over the past few weeks in regards to Coutinho and his Barcelona future. Now, not too long ago, reports came out saying that Coutinho wants to stay at Barcelona, and also the president also backed the fact that they want Coutinho to stay because they believe in the player and they've invested a lot of money. But come on, is it the first time a president slides? For me, and it's my own opinion, I feel like Barcelona could potentially sell if the money's good. Let's not forget, reports are coming out that Barca are planning on spending big for this summer. Guys like Griezmann being linked with, guys like De Ligt as well. They've already signed Frankie de Jong and Emerson. And when you look at the signings they've made this season, you can see that they focus on a lot of short-term signings because they're planning on spending big this summer. And the more I think about that, it really makes me think about Coutinho and his Barcelona future. Currently, there isn't a perfect place for him in the team right now. We know his best position playing on the left in the half space. He can't do that at Barcelona because Valverde likes the guys out wide to have pace and behind. That's not Coutinho's game. And Valverde can't use Coutinho in midfield because Coutinho isn't good enough defensively. And when you think that Barcelona could sell Coutinho and use that money to go in big for Griezmann this summer, maybe there could be some more truth to the story. Of course, it's all up to Coutinho. If he improves on his defensive game, then he might have a future at Barcelona. But with how things are currently, the only way I expect Coutinho to really do bits is if Valverde does leave at the end of this season, which isn't going to be happening. The main question though is whether Coutinho makes sense signing for us. Now, I was working on a video which I didn't release in the end due to the nature of the reports surrounding Coutinho, but hopefully, if news and buzz starts to grow even more, I'm going to release it. But I do feel like Coutinho could do something with this team, especially if Sarri is going to be in charge. It makes a lot of sense, you know, with Coutinho playing on the left in the Sarri system. He's basically the wide playmaker, and if you look at how Hazard's been playing recently, his ability to roam wherever he wants, his ability to help with our rotations in between the lines as well, I could easily see Coutinho doing something like that. Not as good as how Hazard does it, but he could be fulfilling that role in a tactical sense. And for me, there's only 2 players really that could really do Hazard's role in that tactical sense. That's Insigne, and the other one's Philippe Coutinho. I mean, I could easily imagine this guy obviously starting out wide on the left, linking up with Emerson and Ruben, and then moving in field to take shots from outside the box. That's the guy's game. Signing him too, obviously, it's a statement from the boards. They're putting out the message that, you know what, we're not going to make a Spurs mistake. We're not going to reinvest all the money from our key player into poor signings. We're making a statement. We're letting the rest of the league know that we mean business and we do mean to compete. And maybe, just maybe, there could be more truth behind the stories. Moving on to the second story for today, I'm going to be talking about reports stating that we're holding exploratory talks with 3 finance groups. Now this story has been broken by the Daily Mail, and they're saying that we've held talks with 3 interested parties over the potential 2.5 billion sale for the club. Now we know that Ratcliffe is one of those guys, but it's looking ever more likely now that he is going to be signing these, and the other interested parties are coming from Asia and from America. Now remember, as I'm stressing, it's only exploratory talks with these 3 interested parties. That doesn't necessarily mean that there's anything concrete right now. I mean, it's quite obvious. It's a sign of respect in that sense, you know? If someone's showing interest, the least you can do is hold a conversation. That doesn't mean that Roman's planning to sell, but it is painting that picture of someone that can potentially, you know, sell his stake at the club and make some profit, because Roman still hasn't made anything personally after years and years of investing. Just over the past few years alone, you know, he's owed another 75 million. Altogether, he's invested 1.25 billion. And maybe, could he be thinking about potentially cashing out? Now, he still hasn't received his visa yet to actually come back to the country. It's been the first time in 11 years too, where he hasn't bought a hospitality box in the stadium. I mean, of course, it's only speculation, but I think that it is safe for us to, you know, think of theories, hypothesize a bit, and who knows, you know. I wouldn't be surprised to see that Roman isn't here forever during my lifetime as a Chelsea fan. Maybe could be do with new management behind the scenes. Who knows? I've always felt that Roman and his board suggestions have always been like a bottleneck for the club since the guy's taken over. I feel like we should have been at a much higher level right now. And just this decade alone has really summed up the inefficiency behind some of the strategies with the boards. Now, the reason why, you know, parties are interested in Premier League clubs now is because they've seen the successes of other financial groups that have taken over clubs in this country. You know, clubs like Liverpool and Burnley, for example, they're making a profit and they're making money. And another sexy thing about taking over a big Premier League team is the fact that there's a lot of money to be made in international TV rights. You guys, I'm going to leave this question for you in the comment section below. Do you think that Roman should sell? Or do you think that we should ignore it and appreciate Roman Abramovich? Now, moving on to the third story for today. That's in regards to a Duncan Castle's report, and he's basically stating that Javi Gracia, the Watford manager, is part of a short list of potential candidates to replace Sarri at the end of the season. Before I get into anything, I'm going to tell you guys straight away, if Sarri secures Champions League football, he's going to keep his job and he's going to be here for next season. If we don't get it, 99.9% chance it's looking like he isn't going to be here for the start of next season. Do I think it's right? No. But I'll save my thoughts for another video in the future. But hopefully things go to plan for Sarri and I don't have to make that video in the first place. But anyway, Duncan Castle's reporting that the reason why we're interested and why we like Javi Gracia is the fact that he's very mild-mannered. There's no controversy behind the manager. He's calm. But I mean, come on, he's managing Watford, he's not managing us. Let's see how he does under pressure. Let's see how this guy does under pressure when all the guns are pointed at him. But we appreciate his efficient use of the squads. And we know with this board that they're always going to decide the players we sign. And they just want managers to make something happen with all the ingredients they've been given. Now, is that the best way to really, you know, manage the squads? I'm not going to get started on that right now. But before anyone starts to panic, come on, we're an institution. You know, that's how big we are. You need to have contingency plans for everything, even from the manager. So it makes sense that he will be part of a short list for potential candidates. But still though, it's quite frustrating that we need to look at a manager like Javi Gracia, no disrespect to him, because it still makes me question the footballing sense behind the scenes. Now, could Javi Gracia work with a squad like this? Yeah, he can, because he's a guy that finds a system and tactics depending on the players at his disposal. But that's what scares me, because I keep stressing all the time, this squad isn't tailor-made to be efficient or to have maximum potential in any style of football. And when you look at all the big teams in Europe, they all play that one style. You know, we're the only club out of all the big boys that are focused on being pragmatic and playing towards the strengths of our opponents. Javi Gracia hypothetically could do something well in that scenario, but I don't ever see him elevating the team and the squads But still, you know, I'm being a bit cynical, but I can imagine a scenario where Javi Gracia is the manager. He's working with all these B-tier players that the board have signed, and he's trying to make them play football, but he's going to ultimately realize really early that a squad like this can't do anything. And don't be surprised to see us playing defensive pragmatic football, because that's the safest possible way to get us playing when you don't have a squad that's tailor-made for anything. Moving on to the fourth story, that's in regards to Ruben, and this comments on Maurizio Sarri. Now, the reason why I'm speaking about this is that I thought that was a very insightful interview, and there's a reason why I'm always paying attention whenever I read anything with Ruben involved, because the guy provides a lot of context. He helps paint a picture for fans, and you know, it's that additional information that you don't necessarily hear of that I feel is really fun to hear. So basically with the story, Ruben's talking about how Sarri gave him a plan and a goal. If you want to play in midfield for me, you have to get better defensively. You have to be better with your positional sense. And Ruben said that gave him the drive to actually work hard, and it improved him as a player as well. He said a lot that he respects the honesty of Sarri, because he said that he respects the honesty of Sarri for giving him that goal to work towards. And you know, it makes a lot of sense to me. Under previous managers like Mourinho and Conte, you know, these guys were too scared to use Ruben in midfield in his best position, and instead of, you know, challenging the player, developing him, working alongside him, they just patronised him. They used him out of position where he wasn't really able to play to his best potential. And Sarri's the first guy to start to use Ruben in his best position. Speaking more about the development side, some more context was provided. He spoke highly about Eddie Newton, stating that he helps him improve his overall game. And all Eddie Newton stated was, why isn't Ruben using his power and strength to breeze past opponents? It makes a lot of sense. And Ruben said that it's taken him a while to improve in that aspect in his game, but now he feels even more deadlier for it. Beforehand, when he used to beat opponents, he focused solely on his feet, and this is why he has that distinctive dribbling style where, for such a tall guy, he runs with the ball as if he's like 5'7", and he's got extremely quick feet. And you guys got to think too, if you're 6'3", playing that style of game, you have to really understand your body. But now that Ruben's able to use his strength to beat his man, he feels an even more complete player for it, and it's a great improvement in his game. And it makes a lot of sense now, even thinking about it. I remember when Ruben was first playing for us, when, you know, guys were using him out of position, he was constantly brushed off the ball, and it was quite weird because, you know, he was quite a tall guy, looked really strong, but he just wasn't asserting himself because his focus was different. And Ruben was saying, you know, when you feel like you're quite complete as a player, this is where coaches are very beneficial, because they help you see your game differently and improve all aspects of it. Congrats for that. Ruben's worked so hard this season, and we're seeing a very complete player, and I'm really excited to see how his development could look for next season. And to end things very quickly with Gary Cahill, now that Rudiger's potentially out for just a tiny bit, it's not too serious. There's talks that Cahill will be introduced into the squad for our upcoming game against Slavia Prague. Now, that don't necessarily mean that he's going to start against them. It just means that, you know, don't be surprised to see this guy on the bench. You might be wondering, why is Cahill still here? Let's not be harsh on the guy. You know, you have to think about players as people. You know, he's got a family, he's got responsibilities. The guy had a lot of offers across Europe, but he has family responsibilities, and, you know, it wasn't the right time for him to move. I'm sure at the end of the season, he's going to reassess his future. You know, I do sympathise. I sympathise for any player not playing, because it can be a really frustrating period, you know. I understand why Sarri can't use him. I don't think it's Sarri's problem or fault. Cahill just doesn't suit the style of football. You know, you're not going to use Cahill in a defensive line where it's pushed up really high. You know, Cahill isn't good enough on the ball technically to play out from the back either, or to resist the opposition press. If anything, the board should have found a solution for this. But of course, good luck to Cahill in the future. He has been a good servant. I do have respect for him as well. But you guys, that's going to bring an end for today's video. Please like, comment and subscribe if you're still here right to the end to help me get more than 750 likes for today's video. I'm Nini FC, this is Blue Lions TV. Expect me to release a double upload for tomorrow. I'm going to be releasing the 5 talking points video as well as a Mason Mount reaction video, so stay tuned for that. See you guys later.